Hi, Chris here from Prima Coffee Equipment, again with Jason from Slayer. Jason, we're wondering the big question, that is why Slayer? So could you tell us why we should choose this over anything else that has a paddle in the front? People compare this to Strada, GS3, so anything that has that paddle, right? Right. What's different?
Well, I'll back up. My background is coffee roasting. So, you go to Origin, you start finding better coffees, work with farmers, bring that coffee home, roast it up, make a Chemex V60. Oh, that coffee's awesome. Make it on an espresso machine. It's just like, God, I know there's more in this coffee. So, really, the equipment manufacturing industry was not really paying attention to this boutique coffee market. And so, back 6 years ago when we started Slayer, that's why we started it, because no one was doing it. So when we got started, there was no such thing as pressure profiling, right? We were literally starting from scratch. So I wasn't an engineer trying to solve pressure profiling. I was a roaster trying to make better coffee, right? So when we were R&Ding, it was all about how do we make the coffee better. So what we found is that to start being able to manipulate the taste and the texture of the coffee comes through changing the flow rate of the water in the initial phase of the extraction. When you change that flow rate faster or slower, you have to compensate by adjusting the grind. Okay? The finer you grind the coffee, the more surface area you have on it, which means you're going to extract more of the oils out of that coffee. Your viscosity body goes up. Okay, usually acidity starts to come down, sweetness comes up, so you have more balance, and you can start dialing in that coffee along this wide range, this huge spectrum. Okay, now when we move the actuator into the middle position, it's a pre-brew position, and in that position you regulate the flow rate of the water. Okay, so we can,
as opposed to pressure.
That's right, as opposed to pressure. This is really the fundamental difference. Is there's a difference between pressure and flow. Okay, so if you have a hose and you connect it to your house, and you have a hose and you connect it to a fire truck, and they're both at 5 bars, okay, they're going to fill a bucket at a different rate. Okay, totally. Now, most other machines that manipulate pressure are manipulating it through a fire hose. Okay, so you have a big hose that is flowing water very quickly, but then I reduce the pressure down to 1. Okay, but the water still flows fast. We have 2 essentially regulators. One of them in the group that is the fire hose, that's 9 bars, and another one that's variable over here. So we totally slow the flow rate of this water down. It's very different than pressure profile. Okay. Now, the other thing too that you start seeing with pressure profiling, a lot of times if you watch guys that make coffee, right, they got a lineup going on, they're not going to sit here for 30, 40 seconds moving this. They don't. They go meet and they flick it on. So what's the point? So when we made this machine, we also didn't want a lab machine. Well, this is a great machine in a lab, but it's not going to work in the real world. So it's very easy for a barista to dial in, change that flow rate, grind, and now I start to make coffee. It's very easy for me to think step 1. That's why there's a mirror. I can watch that coffee forming. I can be, preparing another portafilter. I can start steaming. I can see when it's ready to start flowing, and I just move the actuator into the next position. So it's very easy to think of. And so, yeah, I guess that is the fundamental difference, is that there is no comparison between the kind of coffees you get on Slayer and which you can make on another machine, because it's the fineness of the coffee. We change the grind to such a point that you could never use that coffee on any other machine.